Hello everybody. This is something a little bit different than what I normally do, but I'm excited about this. I'm talking really fast. Hopefully you can understand me. And I'm live right now, based on the text you can probably see on the screen. That's the people talking. But we're ready for this. So let me go and give a quick breakdown of what's about to happen, and then we'll hop right in, because this might take a while. So, right now, I am working on a book, a fantasy book. And if you know anything about me, you know I'm a musician. I don't write books. But I'm just doing this for fun. Hopefully it's not crap. And hopefully, whenever it gets completed, people can read it. People can enjoy it. So here is what we are looking at right now. So I made this thing that I like to call the book guide, because I really want to get you guys into... Let me go and take this out, because we're doing it right now. So what we're looking at right now is the book guide. So, I really wanted to get people involved in this. I wanted to get my audience involved in this. So I made this, which kind of breaks down a lot of different things about the book. So it is a fantasy book, so I kind of am creating / have created my own world for this book. So there's some information on that. The setting right here. I'm gonna go ahead and summarize what we have here, and then we'll get straight into this. So this is kind of the first part of it, and then the second part, which is the biggest part, is the plot. So there's a whole long list of things that happen here. This is basically what happens in the book. It's in kind of a boring fashion, so this took me a while to write because I had to do it in small chunks. But so this is a very shortened version of all the events that happen in the book. So I'm going to read this out, and then hopefully in the future, whenever I ask for help for you guys on the characters, the settings, names of places, names of people, you guys can help me out on that. And whenever I make any more content about this book, you can reference back to this and kind of know what I'm talking about. So, for you guys that are on stream, if you ask me to repeat, if you're going to ask me to repeat a ton of stuff, I probably won't, because you can always just go back and read this, because it's in the description of the stream and of the YouTube video. But then also because, this is going to take a while and I don't feel like repeating too much. So let's go ahead and summarize the stuff we have here, and then we'll get right into it. So this book is going to be a third-person book. It follows the main character. His name is Luthen Ignotus. This doesn't really mean too much. Luthen doesn't mean anything to me, but Ignotus, actually I'm going to keep it like this. Ignotus means unknown in Latin, and the big reason I wanted to do that is because Ignotus Peverell in the Harry Potter franchise, he is the one that got the invisibility cloak from Death in the Tale of the Three Brothers. So there's going to kind of be a lot of that. Things that have really inspired me, I like to just kind of pop them in there. So Luthen's family, he has a brother, a sister, and his mother and his father. So his mom's name is Marilyn, that is spelled M-A-R-I-L-I-N-E, Marilyn Ignotus. His father's name is Orion. His sister's name is Cherry Lynn, my favorite name in the whole thing. I love that name, Cherry Lynn. And then his brother's name is Tobine. What you got to kind of know about this place before I describe the characters a little bit. So this is set in a fictional kingdom called Thornvale, which is spelled Thornvale. I wanted to put that E in there because it makes it sound a little bit more sophisticated, I think. So Thornvale is, like I said, a fictional place that is kind of, it's really, really similar to a lot of other fantasy worlds that a lot of fantasy worlds, like Middle Earth, I don't know what the king, I forget what the kingdom's called in Ranger's Apprentice. Really, yeah, like I said, really any kind of fantasy world you see, you got castles, you got knights, you got bows and arrows and swords are the main stuff like that. So I wanted to keep it like that. Keep fantasy to its roots. There's no magic. There's no crazy creatures. It's pretty realistic, honestly, to what it could have been like, 1,000 years ago in medieval England. So, so Thornvale, and then to the I'm forgetting my cardinal directions here. To the west of Thornvale is this place called Cantan. So Cantan. It's pronounced literally Cantan. So Cantan is, what you got to know about Cantan is they have fallen apart. The kingdom of Cantan used to be this thriving, prosperous kingdom, and then over the past 50 to 100 years, due to poor leadership, maybe some kind of political stuff, they have just gone all the way down. So Cantan is in the deep end. So basically, whenever you go over there, in the big cities there might be a little bit of stuff, but in the small towns and the rural areas, there's basically no government, and it's just a wonder that they haven't been taken over yet. So everybody knows Cantan is not a threat at all. Cantan is nothing. And then to the south is a place called Rimson Gale. I'm not even going to try to remember how I spelled that. I'll put it on the screen. Rimson Gale. They are. I took a lot of inspiration from Rohan of Lord of the Rings. They are the horse lords of Rimson Gale. They are known for their flat, open plains, and they a little bit of like a tropical environment. So Thornvale's massive. Thornvale's bigger. Yeah, that's right, Diego. Thornvale is bigger than both of these kingdoms combined. So they have been working on this for a long time. Thornvale's huge. So all of the baronies of Thornvale, which is, like states or provinces, they end in the word Vale, which is, I just thought that was interesting. So Oakvale is where the story begins. Kingvale is where the capital is. Goldvale is a really prosperous barony. All that. So if you want to read more about the characters and stuff like this, be sure to check out the book guide. But I'm going to give just a really quick description of Luthen and Elmara, which are our two main characters. So Luthen is training to become chief of his village. His father, Orion, is the chief of the village currently, and Luthen is about, I think, like a year away from assuming the position of chief. So what you got to know about chiefs in Thornvale is their main job is, leading their village like a chief does, and then also for the ones that are really good warriors, they're good strategists. They are also used by the baron of their land, just kind of as special forces almost. So like if they need something to be done, say there's a high stakes criminal on the loose, they might call up their good chiefs and be like, okay, we got to get you to track down this guy. So then they'll put their second in command in charge. They'll go track down whoever they need to do or do whatever they need. Sometimes it's like a war council, which comes up later. And then they'll come back and they'll, assume normal life. So the thing about the Ignotus family is they are very renowned as great chiefs, great warriors. So they are used a lot by Lord Clark of Oakvale. So they're used a lot by him. So they're going to be gone a good bit doing kind of, dangerous missions for their guy. Because if you have a good trainer, and you have a good line of chiefs, then you know that from the time you're like maybe 11, 12, you're going to be training in combat and in diplomacy and all that stuff. So Elmara is kind of the exact opposite of what Luthen is. So Luthen is training to become chief. He's almost there. He's a great warrior. Some say he's the greatest on the western side, the greatest swordsman on the western side. That could be folktale. That could be legend, or it could be real. So he is pretty solitary. He is, because he's been separated from children his age basically his whole life. So they're, going to school, whatever kind of school they have in their village. But he is on his own, learning how to function in the diplomatic world of Thornvale, how to be, a killer, basically, whenever he needs to be, and stuff like that. So he's very solitary. He's respectful, because, he's been trained in diplomacy, like I've said many times. He's very respectful, he's very kind, but he basically has no friends. He doesn't really have many companions because he is technically above his peers. So Elmara used to live in the capital. She was actually getting really high education in the capital. She was part of a big, slightly wealthy family in the capital of the kingdom, which is called Castle Thornvale, or it is nicknamed Crystal Spires. Crystal Spires, or Crystal Castle. I like calling it Crystal Castle. But anyway, so she was there, and then this outbreak of a sickness happened in the castle, in the capital, and took out a lot of people. And unfortunately, both of her parents passed away in the outbreak of the disease. So this all happens before the book. We haven't even gotten into this yet. Like I said, this is going to be a long video. But both her parents have died. And so she moves. Her only living relative is this dude who's like her third cousin in a town called Whistleton. When Whistleton is a 30-minute ride away from Horiston. So Whistleton, think about maybe Horiston is where Luthen is training to become chief, where he's lived his whole life. So Whistleton, maybe think about 2,000 to 3,000 people. It's one of the biggest cities in the area. It's a big center for trade because where they're located is this huge oak forest called the Oakvale Deep. So there are small pockets of towns and civilization. So if there's a big town, it's a big center for trade and commerce and all that. So Whistleton is connected to a lot of smaller villages, but kind of disconnected from the whole outside because it's so in this just deep tangle of forest. But anyway, she moves to Whistleton, and all of her currency, they use like a precious coins system, silver coins, gold coins, copper coins, and all of her wealth that came from her family, because she's the only one who can inherit it, was just kind of boiled down and put into like bars for her to travel with, because you're carrying around a whole sack of coins. That's not going to do well. So you can just get a pallet of money, transport it, with some armed guards, and then you're good. You can transfer it back to coins. So she gets to Whistleton, late at night. She's maybe 11, 12 years old, and then she wakes up in the morning, and her third cousin, her only living relative, has made off in the night with all of her money, all of her stuff, and all she's left with is the clothes on her back, and no family, no money, in a far away place, and not that far, but in a place that she has never been before. And yeah, so the government tries to help her. The government's like, oh, we're gonna track down this guy, but they don't really get very far. They give her a little bit of money, and then they're like, okay, kid, you're on your own. Which, by the way, boo Whistleton government. Holy cow, the Whistleton government kind of sucks. But anyway, they give her this money, and then people, immediately, like, because Whistleton is so cut off from the other places, and this happens in all of Oakvale and the Oakvale Deep, and then also this place called Night Vale in the north, where there's also some huge forests. They're cut off from basically the whole rest of the kingdom. By the way, you can travel, not really as the crow flies, they're pretty close to everybody else, but you can't really get out of the Oakvale Deep very easily. So they are immediately very cautious of foreign things. Even though they're in the same kingdom, they're literally only one barony over, Oakvale and Oakvale and Kingvale, where Elmar came from. They are immediately kind of, whoa, this is different. So some people are like, taking pity on her, being like, oh, you can come stay in my house for a few days since you don't have anywhere to go. I'll give you some money. I'll give you some food. And then a couple months go by, and everybody's like, okay, I've expended my kindness towards you because you're different from us. Which could be some commentary on the real world. I won't get into it, but that's what happens. So, oh my goodness. It's been 20 minutes. We haven't even gotten into the real book yet. Goodness gracious, this is going to take so long. But anyway, she so she has to learn how to fend for herself. She learns how to use a bow. She learns how to hunt. And there's some people, she learns how to hunt. So, she's getting food. She's selling it in the markets of Whistleton, because remember, Whistleton is a big center. Even though there aren't too many people there, there's a lot of people coming and going because it's the biggest place around. that is easily, easy to travel to. So there's a lot of people coming and going, buying her food, buying her stuff or whatever. But, she's poor. They call her street rat because literally when times get tough, she has to steal from people in order to survive. As you can tell, I could talk about this for hours. But anyway, hopefully we won't get to that. So yeah, that's where we are. Nobody likes Elmara. Luthen is pretty suspicious. But anyway, here we go. Act 1. I'm just going to read this straight from the book. And then if I see any, I'm going to read this straight from the Google Docs. So I'll pull that up again. And then if I see any chats. So if you guys are like, wait, what does this mean? What is that? I'll try to explain it. So, like I said, I probably won't repeat huge sections. So Act 1, I'm just going to read it off. The book opens with completely normal life in Horiston. We see Luthen train, take lessons, go fishing, and have a meal with his father and his father's friends. We even see Luthen attend a festival in Whistleton, alone, of course. This is one of my favorite scenes in the entire beginning of the story. Just a reminder, I haven't actually written any of this yet. This is just a solid framework. And it's also where he has his first conversation with Elmara. Shortly after this, word spreads of increased bandit activity in the area. It's nothing too alarming, just something to watch out for. So in the coming days or weeks, I still haven't really figured out the exact timeline yet, because, I'm going to have to calculate distances and all that kind of stuff, find out exactly what the bandits are doing. But the bandit activity does increase, and it gets closer and closer to the Horiston area, potentially putting Luthen's village in danger. So at this point, Luthen's father, Orion, who's the chief of Horiston, his father is called away from the village to a council in the capital of Oakvale, which is called Sunrise Castle, to work on defending against the bandits. This leaves Luthen in charge of the village while he's away. This is big. Luthen has been in a position like this before, really only once or twice. At first, it's normal, but after a few days, there comes word of a bandit attack very close to the village. This sets people on edge, and Luthen publicly assures them that they are all perfectly safe. And we got some parentheses here. That's a rookie mistake. This comes back to haunt him later. So one night, Luthen is called to the village inn to talk to a man who came in late at night. He has seen this man once before. He was acting a little bit shady at the market day in Whistleton, which is the festival he attended by himself. This is kind of curious to Luthen, but it's really nothing alarming. They talk. He asks some slightly strange questions. He's speaking with a heavy Canton-Noir accent. So Canton-Noir or Canton-Noir, I think I'm going to say, is just meaning of Canton. So like a person that's from Canton is Canton-Noir. So Luthen quickly realizes that, nothing's going to come from this conversation. This guy's, not worth his time. So he tells the guy that he's going to leave. He's going to go home. He's going to go to sleep. However, just really randomly, the man asks him how long he's been chief for. And Luthen tells them that, he's not actually the chief. He's standing in until his father returns from the capital. This makes the foreigner very, very intrigued, but Luthen can't really figure out why. You're all good, Black Rose. Be sure to check out the YouTube video whenever it comes out. So later that night, he's laying in bed. He's trying to go to sleep, and he thinks about the conversation, realizing there might be more to this guy than, meets the eye. So the next day, the man is gone. He's gone. Luthen receives some news from his father that the bandits are very good at gathering information about the places they plan to attack, and have been seen using informants at places that they are scouting out to attack. So Luthen realizes then that the man he talked to at the inn was almost certainly an informant for the bandits. So a few days pass, and he kind of, he's trying to find out how to defend against the village. He's sending messages to all these places. So, and then as he feared, I haven't really figured out this sequence yet, but as he feared, they are attacked. Horiston is attacked by these bandits. And he, has a ragtag army of lumber workers and some blacksmith tradesmen with him, and they actually successfully repel the bandits. But they do destroy literally almost all the village. So he repels them. However, during the battle, he watches the bandits. Once they realize that they weren't actually going to get to the middle of the village, he watches them take 2 children hostage. One of them is his sister, Cherry Lynn Ignotus. Whoa. Let's reiterate this. Luthen's sister, one of his only companions, because reminder, he's not really a real kid. He's 18 at this point. He didn't really have a real childhood. His sister is taken away. So, all right, hold on, where was I? So he tries to run into the woods after them, but he's like running out. He's like, no, and he's too late, and they get away with the two children as hostages. So the aftermath is kind of insane, as you might know. All the people, they either try to camp near the village or take asylum in Whistleton, because Whistleton has these big stone walls, because they fear that another attacker is going to come. Also because, they just need a place to go. Luthen is obviously devastated, and this is where he starts to spiral, because he blames himself for all of the death, all the destruction that happened. The people are, completely devastated. They're broken by the loss of their home. And for most of them, they lost at least one, person they know or a loved one in the battle or in the aftermath of it. So all of this misery slowly turns to anger. Anger directed at Luthen, since he's the one who led the battle. He's the one who told them that nothing bad would happen. Like I said, that's going to come back out, and that's a big thing. He told them nothing bad was going to happen. But this, causes him to spiral even more. So one day, he's walking around the woods, just trying to get an escape from the hostile, atmosphere of the town. He eventually makes it to this beautiful little clearing. That is just pretty far away from the town. He finds this random path, makes it to this clearing. It's called Smuggler's Cove because it's far enough away from the village that criminals can kind of gather there. But he doesn't know. He doesn't know what that means. And then this is where he breaks. He just starts crying. This is a big emotional moment for the book. He just cries over, the loss of his home, his sister. He's barely ever been outside of this village, and now it's just destroyed. And then, as this happens, our other main character, Elmara, makes her real appearance. She comes up from behind him, and she sees this dude just bawling in this random place that is supposed to be like a criminal meeting spot, and she's been hunting. And this just becomes really awkward. He's like, oh no, I'm so sorry. But this is their first conversation outside of the town. So they start talking, and Elmara, she sees something a little bit different in Luthen than what she sees in the other people from the town, because Luthen knows what it's like to be different. He has been not necessarily an outcast because it was his choice, but he's been different from everybody else his whole life. But you got to remember, she has been shut off by her whole town for years. So she's not ready to just accept this guy into her circle because she doesn't have a circle. She doesn't have anybody to rely on. So it becomes their first real conversation. And then Luthen's just telling, he's feeling sorry for himself. He's feeling guilty. And Elmara goes out of her comfort zone and tells him it's not her fault. It's not his fault, sorry. And when she says this, he just kind of pushes it away further, and she gives up. The rest of Act 1 isn't super important. It's just kind of showing that the atmosphere is getting more and more hostile towards Luthen and his father, Orion. Orion comes back from the war council that he was part of once he learned everything that happened, so that he can help out with the aftermath and just kind of be with his family. Let's see. Orion, he's kind of dealt with things like this before, it just kind of comes with his experience. But Luthen is young. He takes it really harshly because he's just not experienced with having his people turn on him like this. The people of Horston are very angry because of the tragedy. The people of Whistleton are angry because of the large amount of people who are now in their town. A couple hundred people just randomly coming and staying in your town, you're not going to like that. Especially when you're already kind of accustomed to not liking other people who aren't from where you are. So, this is a big thing. This is a big point. So, there's one day, Luthen's mother, Marilyn, asks him to accompany her to the market. Luthen doesn't want to go because there's a bunch of people there. He doesn't want to go out in public because there might be people who are, getting angry at him. But this is Maraline's first time leaving the house since her daughter was taken away from her. So, he just kind of has to go. So, but while at the market, there are some dudes who have just been drinking. They are drunk. They're hammered. But there's 4 people there. There is an official in the village. In the town. So he is like kind of part of the government of Whistleton. There are 2 men from Horiston who fought in the battle. So fought alongside Luthen while they were repelling the bandits, and then one other guy. So they start just kind of heckling him. They're saying, "Oh, you suck. You're terrible. You brought these people into our town, or you let our village go to ruin or whatever." And then I didn't write this down in here, but I know basically what it's going to be, so I'll just say it now. So Luthen is just trying to get his mother to leave, and she's like, "Yeah, okay, we're going to go." And then the guy, the government official, he's drunk, remember. He says, "Yeah, go hide behind your mother. She couldn't save the other one, could she?" Low blow, dude. I get you're drunk, but like, dude, what are we doing? So Luthen, big time Luthen moment here. He socks the dude in the face. He socks the dude in the jaw. So this guy, his face is like broken. He's fallen down. Reminder, Luthen has been training in combat for like 8 years at this point. So that dude is out. So anyway, he fights off a bunch of other people who like mob him because of this. They're like, "He didn't do anything wrong," and whatever. It sparks a huge outrage. But anyway, Orion and the governor, his name's Governor Hayward Smoke of Whistleton, they are just furious at him. But he stands by what he did. He says that he had the right there because the people were whatever. And then also, I forgot to put this in there, but Elmara was there. She breaks through and she says, "Ignotus, what did you do?" Breaks through the crowd, whatever. So, that night, he's getting yelled at by his dad. He's getting yelled at by other people. Also, I never mentioned this before. There's another guy in here. His name is Rondell. He's from Cantan, and he's Luthen's weapons trainer. In the book, in this guide, he doesn't really come up much, but he's a big part of the book, actually. So remember Rondell. He helps Luthen train. He's been training him for a long time. And whenever Luthen's father goes away to the capital, he helps Luthen make some decisions, but he's not really trained in how to run a village. He's just kind of trained in fighting. So he helps, but to an extent. So anyway, so Luthen, after getting yelled at, he's getting chewed out. He decides to leave the village again, and he's just kind of wandering around. And he finds the path back to Horiston. So he walks there. He's just looking out at the just smoldering ruins of his village, his home. And he, again, blames himself fully for what happened. And here's another conversation between Luthen and Elmara, because remember, she witnessed what happened in the market. So, and then she, sees Luthen leave, or she just knows he leaves. He leaves, and she finds him, comes up beside him, and was like, "Dude, what are you doing? Like, what happened? Like, what'd you do?" So Elmara said, okay, now I'm going to pick back up with this. They have a conversation about the incident in the market. Elmara saying she thinks he did the right thing, but it was still a stupid move. Luthen then asks why she's talking to him. Reminder, Luthen doesn't have any friends. He doesn't know how to have a friend. Luthen asks why she's talking to him, but she just says she's curious about what he's actually like. Luthen doesn't know what to say to this, and she asks if he's had any friends. He says no, only his sister, but she's gone now. Oh, that's a blow to the heart. She tells him that he needs friends in life, but he pushes that away and says he doesn't need it. Early the next morning, or maybe, a couple days later, we'll see. Luthen is just kind of up. He's doing his chores. He's, head down, just maybe, hauling water buckets or whatever he's doing. So she comes up to him one more time. But this is different. This isn't her trying to, have a conversation with him. He tries to ignore her. and she says that she doesn't want to be talking to him either, but there's something he needs to know. She says that she overheard two men in the market last night speaking in Cantanois, which is the language they speak in Cantan, organizing some kind of meetup taking place that night. So she knows how to speak Cantanois because of her education in the capital. She learned how to speak the language because of her high education in the, Crystal Castle. So he asks a couple questions about the criminal activity in the village that she kind of knows, and he says that it doesn't really seem like a big deal. He has things to do, so he's not going to go investigate it. And then she argues that it could be something big, and tells them that she's going to go if he won't. And so that day he's just saying, oh wait, if she goes and then something happens to her, that's going to suck for me because she told me. And so he's internally debating. He's like, do I go, do I not go, do I let her just go into whatever this could be? But he decides to go to make sure that she doesn't get herself in trouble. So he goes in the meeting spot, which is the same place that him and her talked the first day, that Smuggler's Cove outside of the village. And she tells them that she wasn't actually planning on going without him. She just said that because she knew it would make him come. So if he didn't come, she wouldn't have gone. But anyway, when they get to the meetup, they learn that it's not actually random criminal activity. This is big. They have stumbled across the entirety of the bandit gang who are waiting there hidden for the night. Luthen also picks out who he believes to be Cherry Lynn in the camp. So she's not dead. He can't be 100% sure since it's night, it's dark out, she's far away, but he's almost certain he sees his sister in the camp. So he's like, okay, I can't actually do anything about this, but they run back. They run back to the town and they wake everybody up. They try to go. So Luthen actually, Elmara breaks off from Luthen at this point because he doesn't want to be seen with her because she kind of has a bad reputation. So he goes into his house to wake up his family, but he sees they're gone. His family's not home, but it's the middle of the night. What's going on here? Anyway, he goes around, he's trying to find them, and then eventually he goes to kind of the doctor's area, and he sees them all huddled around a dead body. So he makes his way in to tell them what he saw. He's like, guys, I saw this in the village, but he's taken aback, and somebody tells him that the dead body they're all looking at is his sister, Cherry Lynn. So, but here's the big, I was going to say the big but I'm not going to say that. Here's the big, however, there are some very substantial burn marks. This body is, okay, I'm not going to get into too much detail, but this body is unrecognizable. So they are all saying, we found the body of this child. Our sister is missing. This is her. It has to be her. So Luthen is like, wait a second. So he pulls his father aside and he's like, I saw her. She's here. She's with the bandits. They're over here outside of the village. But Orion is like, oh, he thinks Luthen just made up this story as an immediate coping mechanism. He's like, no, it's not her. So Luthen is bewildered, telling him that he knows what he saw and that the person on the table is not his sister. So Orion doesn't believe him and just tells him to go to sleep. So the next day, Luthen goes back to investigate, finding Smuggler's Cove to be abandoned with no trace of the bandits. Reminder, there is a small creek that runs through Smuggler's Cove. That's big. There is a flowing water through Smuggler's Cove. So the next day he goes back, doesn't find anything, and then he finds Elmara. He just randomly goes to find her. He makes sure, like, you saw this last night, right? Like, they were there. So she's like, yeah, that was there. They were there. So he tries again. He goes back to his dad. He's like, dude, I saw this. It happened, and he doesn't want to tell them that Elmara can back him up because her word doesn't mean anything, and they don't know he's hanging around with her, so they probably just won't say anything. But Orion's just like, hey, you gotta accept it, bro. Like, she's dead. And Luthen, he looks around. He realizes that his people have turned against him, His home is destroyed. His family believes his sister is dead, and he feels like he failed as a leader. So, he finds Elmara one more time, and he says, I'm leaving. I'm catching their trail. I'm going to rescue my sister. And you know the language. You know how to speak what these people are speaking. You know how to communicate with these people. Come with me. Whoa. He says, I'm going on this mission. I need you. Come with me. And she's like, bro, I'm not doing that. Like, that's stupid. You're literally going to get yourself killed. And he's like, okay. You don't belong in this place. You have no future here. These people hate you. You have no money. I'll pay you as much money as you want. Literally just come with me. Help me do this. You know how to use a bow. You can defend yourself. I can help defend you. No, like, literally, there's no reason for you to stay here. And so, he pulls an Uno reverse. He says, tomorrow at first light, I'm in Smuggler's Cove and I'm leaving. If you don't come, I'm still going without you. Ooh, he pulls her own words against her. And so she's like, oh, I don't know. And so, the next day, he waits in Smuggler's Cove. Dawn comes and he's thinking, she's not going to come, is she? And then, in the early morning light, she steps in there and she says, okay, where are we going? Oh! And that is the end of Act 1. Now we're getting to Act 2, baby. Let's go. I'm fired up. Act 2 is my favorite act. Act 2 is my favorite. So, there's going to be some stuff in here that just kind of change. It's going to change around a little bit because there's a lot of traveling in Act 2 because they're chasing down this whole bandit group. So, all of this could change. Probably won't, but it could. Oh my goodness. Let's do this. So, the beginning of their travels are pretty slow. They follow the route that they believe the bandits have taken. So they figure that the bandits are walking through the water as to not leave, a huge trail behind them. Because, your footsteps are going to disappear when you walk through water. But if you walk through, like, an open field, people can see your trail and be like, bro, there was a lot of people here. We got to figure out what's going on here. So they are traveling through this water so that they're only traveling by night, too. That's big for them, just trying to make ground on them. They only travel by night. They travel through water. So they travel through the Oakvale Deep and make it to the town of Marsh. So a couple of things here. So a lot of these travel times, I might say like a few days or that night. I don't exactly know because I'm going to make a huge map for this and I'm going to figure out the travel times. I just haven't done it yet. So we're going to figure that out. But for now, I'm just going to read out what I wrote down in here. So they make it to the town of Marsh that night. The traveling is definitely awkward because they have to ride the same horse. Luthen has like a double saddle. I don't even know if that's a thing, but I made it up. Luthen has a double saddle, so they don't have to sit like right next to each other. But they're riding the same horse. At this point, they don't really like each other. They're just kind of doing it because they are dependent on each other. So, it's kind of awkward. They're riding the same horse, but they're not really that friendly with each other. So in the town of Marsh, Luthen goes. He tries to talk to a few locals to try to get information about the bandit, the whereabouts. Because the town is a bit more connected than Whistleton, and they can get better information than they could in there. So they learn about a village in northern Rosevale. So the town of Marsh is in kind of southern Oakvale. I'll see if I can put the map on the screen right now for the YouTube video. So the town of Marsh is in southern Oakvale, and the barony of Rosevale is literally it's to the south, right to the south. So anyway. They are leaving this village. They're going to try to make for the village of this abandoned, destroyed village in Rosevale, which was obviously pillaged by the bandits, so that they can, maybe try to find their whereabouts and get a clue about where they're going. So when they're leaving this like tavern or wherever they are, trying to get information, Luthen, sees a dude who's just kind of staring at him. Diego, that's a good question. So, Cantenois is kind of a mix. I thought like Spanish, like Spanish accent is kind of what I base it off of. Because like Rondel, that's a Spanish name. But anyway, or it's a Spanish sounding name. But anyway, he sees a dude who has a sword. But the sword looks a little weird. He doesn't get a good look at it. But he can tell this sword is different. Like, this isn't a Thornvale like knight. This is a dude with a sword. You're good. So, they plan to head for that destroyed village the next day. So they see the dude, and he's staring them down when they're walking out. And Luthen goes, okay, something's going on here. And reminder, this guy heard them trying to get information about these bandits. So he might be onto them about something. So they talk about either staying in the town or finding a place outside the village to camp. So Elmara wants to stay. She says they have enough money to pay for it. Luthen brought along, all the money he has. And Luthen wants to leave and be cautious, since the guy in the tavern, he really put him on edge. He wants to put distance between this guy and them. So Elmara tries to convince him, but she does give up, and she sees, he's really anxious about this. So she's like, okay, where are we going? So they leave the village. They go down the path for maybe 15-30 minutes, and they camp in this patch of trees. So they make it outside the Oakvale Deep sometime in that first day. So travel is definitely easier. They're in open fields now. There's still some patches of forest, but just hit my microphone. They're in some patches of forest, but they're making it a lot easier now. So they make it to the destroyed village the next day, and they search through the wreckage to see if they can find anything, any kind of clues. So Elmara ends up finding a map on a dead Cantenois bandit, and it has a lot of villages marked out on it, including Horiston. So they think, okay, this might be big. This could be a map of who the bandits are attacking. And then there's also some that are marked out with a different symbol in the Cantenois word for unattainable, which basically they figure is villages that they kind of wanted to, and then they scout it out and they realize that they don't think it's going to happen. So, let's see, where was I? They find the nearest village. I definitely forgot what this one's called when I was writing this, so I didn't. They find the nearest one that's marked out, and they decide to head there to see if the bandits have made it that far yet. So they travel there pretty quick because they think, okay, we might have a chance to catch up to them here. They travel pretty intensely, but they're too late, and when they see it's in ruin when they get there. But, however, it does confirm that this map is actually a legitimate map, or so they think. Luthen finds a trail that the bandits left going in and out of the village, and he follows it to a large patch of forest close to the village. He goes in to investigate and finds the bandit camp and gets confirmation that Cherry Lynn is still alive. This is huge, because at this point, he was only 90% sure she's alive, but he sneaks into this village. I kind of understated this. He sneaks into this camp. I kind of understated this when I was writing this book guide, but this is big, because he sneaks through, finds the camp again, and he realizes, okay, we're here. She's alive. So he leaves. He tells Elmara what he saw, and they look to find another map on the village. Another village on the map. Sorry, it's called Glendora Hills. I love Glendora Hills, and it looks like it's the next in the path of the bandits. So they leave immediately for the village to warn them of the attack, because they see these guys. They think this is going to take them a while to get here. So we're gonna go. We're going to go find these guys. We're going to tell them what's going to happen, and then hopefully leave them to defend against these bandits. So they travel quickly, and, it should be around 2 days for them to get to Glendora Hills. So in these times, also expect some dialogue between Luthen and Elmara that I'm not mentioning here, because a big thing I wanted to focus on was their growth as characters and how they're challenging themselves in places that they are, not comfortable with socially. So anyway, expect some dialogue there. But anyway, they make it to Glendora Hills, no major problems. So when they get there, they just kind of look around. They find a place, stock up their supplies. They get some food. They get a map of the area. And then they debate whether or not to warn the village of the oncoming attack. So what they realized is, they could blow their cover. If there's a Cantenois, informant here, because they have spies everywhere. If there's a guy here who hears them warn this village about this, they could be like, okay, we gotta get rid of these people because they know our plan. So, so they argue about it. Luthen's like, yeah, we should. We got to tell these people what's going to happen to them. He doesn't want anybody else to get hurt, but he agrees with Elmara because it could jeopardize the entire thing if they are, found out. So this is a big thing. Elmara learns to fend for herself, and Luthen falls back on his training, saying, I don't want anybody to get hurt. But Elmara's saying, you're going to have to be a little bit selfish here if you want to actually rescue your sister. We're going to have to refrain from risk, even if it could help other people. That's a big thing. So they have this conversation, the one about kind of whether or not to go, in a small marketplace right by the entrance of the village. So, and Luthen spots a man who looks strangely familiar. Who could it be? He realizes that it's the man that he saw in the tavern in Marsh a few days earlier. So he's like, this is strange. This guy's here. And he was there in Marsh too. So he goes up to them and he's like, excuse me, sir, can you tell me, we don't have much money to stay in the inn here. Can you tell me a good place to camp outside of this village? And then he gives them directions to a spot by the river near the village. So, also, I didn't add this in the book guide, but while this is happening, he's writing a note. He's writing something down. And he tells them, down the hall to the left. If you get that reference, I love you forever. Down the hall to the left, that's where where you can camp for the night. You'll be fine there. So, they go there and they realize, like, okay, we're not actually going to camp here because we're not going to follow what this guy tells us, but we should go because he might be watching us, and if we don't go there, it'll be suspicious because he just told us to go there. So they go, they kind of scout out the place. They're like, yeah, this is probably where these bandits are going to go because it's really hidden from the view of the village. Remember this. It is hidden from the view of the village. Okay? And then here is a big turning point for the novel. Remember, the entire village cannot see what is happening. So they're like, okay, yeah, this is honestly probably where the bandits are going to be. So at least we know where they're going to go. So they, I did skip it. I did skip this. So the guy's writing a note in Cantenoir, which is boom, 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 red flag. And Elmara is saying, hey, Luthen, while you were talking to that guy, I read what he wrote down. So she reads what he's writing down, but he doesn't know this, because even if they know, even if he is on to Luthen and like, oh, this guy's following the bandits, might want to figure out what this guy's up to. He doesn't know that Elmara can speak the language. He doesn't know that. So he goes up to her. Sorry, I don't know why I said that. He definitely does not go up to her. So they go over. She sees the note, and then she tells him, this is what she says. Let me read it exactly. So Elmara also reads a note the man was writing in Cantenoir, saying something along the lines of, the two pests are here, just as we planned, and phase 2 would be a success if we start now. The time is ripe. So they puzzle over what that means, and they walk in the direction the man gave them to scout it out. So anyway, they don't know what this kind of means, but this is big, okay? Everybody pay attention to this. This is big. This is big. All right, so they're like, okay, this place is kind of a dud. We're not going to camp here because we might get overrun by bandits. Because remember, they know that the bandits are going to be attacking this place. Can somebody explain for Inspire, please? Thank you. They know the bandits are going to be attacking this place, so they don't want to be where these bandits might actually end up being. So they leave, and but while they're still out of view from the village nobody in the village can see what's going on here. The man's there, and he is looking for blood. He has a bow and arrow fully drawn back, aimed at them, and he's saying, don't move or I'm gonna shoot you. Remember, this guy has a foreign sword. He has he has it drawn. He was writing in Canton Noir. He was talking about plans. He was talking about phase 2. Is the time is ripe. The pests are here, which they learn is about Elmara and Luthen. But anyway, he's saying, and then he just kind of starts laughing at him. He's like, "Bro, you have no idea what's about to happen, do you?" I'm gonna put my hands down. They're saying, "You have no idea. You have no idea what's about to happen here, do you? You are literally, you're cooked. You are like, you're in the path of destruction here." But anyway, let me read exactly what it says here. So, Luthen puts his hands up, but Elmara doesn't. Okay, rebel. The man just taunts and laughs at them, telling them that they can't do anything about what is to come. He says that Glendora Hills will be burnt to ashes, and he just keeps laughing. He then asks how they like the map that he gave them. So they realize the man planted the map for them to find, presumably to draw them to that village. He planted the map to bring them to him, basically, is what Luthen thinks. So he then explains he explains a plan to them about how the bandits will destroy all of the West, take it as their own, but Elmara says she doesn't believe it. So he's saying, we're going to take out all these places. We're going to make our own bandit overlord place. And Elmara's like, no, that's not going to happen. I don't believe you. So he just keeps explaining like the terror that's going to happen. He's like, we're gonna be the greatest or whatever. But while he's doing that, Luthen kind of inconspicuously draws a knife out of his belt, boom, chucks it at the guy. He dodges it, and he's on horseback for this, by the way. He dodges it, but this knocks him off his horse. He's like, whoa, knocks him off his horse, and he's on the ground. Elmara starts, scrambling, trying to get her bow. She's never been in combat before, remember this. This is her first time ever being in combat. So she's like trying to get her bow. She's all nervous. She's trying to get an arrow, but Luthen just draws his sword, sprints at the dude. And, he gets up. And remember, he's a Canton Noir warrior. He's a bandit that has been trained, obviously, by some high-level guys. So him and Luthen are just fighting away. And then Luthen eventually kind of gets an upper hand on him. Not that hard. Because, again, Luthen is pretty good at this kind of stuff. So I don't really have the kind of sword fights planned out yet, so I'm just going to say they fight. And Luthen eventually knocks him on the ground. So he just kind of rolls away, he stands up, and then he realizes, I'm not going to be able to get down to this guy. So he changes his target to Elmara. He sprints over to her, he's got his sword, and she has her bow raised, but she hasn't fired anything. And then she shoots her shot at him, but she misses. He makes it over to her. Oh no. I'm gonna let it sit for just a second. Okay, no, he doesn't kill her. No, she doesn't die. He doesn't kill her. But, like I said, this is a big turning point. So, he takes his sword. Dude, just a long, deep sword wound down her leg, which sucks. And she just immediately drops to the ground. By this time, Luthen has got over. He just body slams the guy. In these situations, he's not the brightest. Whenever he gets really emotional, so he just slams the dude instead of actually using his sword. But it knocks the sword over. So let's see. He gets his sword knocked out of reach, so he decides to just abandon his sword, and he runs away back to his horse. He hops on, and then he's out. He's out. So Luthen just looks down. He looks at Elmara. She's obviously losing a lot of blood. She is in great pain. And then he sees the guy. And he says, okay, I have a choice to make here. I can go after the dude. Or I don't, and I help her. So he decides to help Elmara while she's on the ground. And he very quickly, carries her over to the river, washes her leg off. He makes a tourniquet, whatever he has to do. And she eventually, I got you, bro. Thank you. And then she eventually passes out. She is dead as a doornail. Not actually dead. Passed out as a doornail. And he's like, uh-oh. So he picks her up, runs over to the village. Oh no, he runs over to his horse. Let me bring the doc back up. He runs over to his horse. Angela, I did not. I have no. This medical stuff might be a bit wrong, but you know what? We're just gonna go with it. So he runs over to his horse. The horse is gone, bro. The guy took the horse, took their stuff that was on the horse, and he's like, crap. So he picks her up, just runs to the village while he's carrying a person, which is a superhuman Luthen moment. And that horse stuff is going to come back to bite them pretty good. This horse's name is Gale, by the way. Gale. Half wind, half the guy from the Hunger Games. But anyway, they make it. He runs into the village. He's yelling, doctor, where's the doctor? We need a doctor. So somebody leads him to this small house. It's got a wooden table in the front room, and he lays her on the table. And then a small, kind of older guy runs in. Think, who's the guy with the Danny DeVito? Kind of like him. But anyway, he's like he doesn't want to give it away because remember they're trying to be as secret as they can. So he's like, oh, we were robbed on the road, and she got slashed. And so he lays her on the table. The dude runs in, and then he kind of inspects the wounds, grabs everything he needs, and then he tells Luthen, he's like, dude, you saved us a lot of trouble here because you washed the wound like immediately, and that's obviously Luthen's training. So killed all the bacteria and dirt and everything that probably would have settled in if he didn't do that. So he cleans the wound, he starts stitching it up, and then this is big.
Now at McDonald's.
Not the ad. The ad's not the big part.
Get a $5 Mexican meal deal.
All right. So this is big. So he runs in. Wait, that already happened. He already ran it. So he's stitching up the wound, and then Elmara wakes up, and then she Luthen's standing right next to the table, and then she just, oh dude, this is kind of corny when I'm thinking about it, but she just grabs his arm like, oh, this sucks, and she's holding on to his arm, and then when they're finished, the doctor, his name is Dr. Arda Palm. I just usually refer to him as Palm or Dr. Palm. So, he makes a pain relieving thing. He gives it to Elmara and then just tells her to go to sleep. So, Luthen is like, okay, thank you, Dr. Palm. Thank you so much. Can you give us a second, please? Can we talk real quick? So, Palm leaves and Luthen goes, all right, Elmara, so this sucks. This is crap, but we have insider intel that this village is going to get attacked soon. So even though you're hurt, we got to get out. We have to leave. We can't stay here and let them just attack us and probably kill us right now. So, but then she's like, hold on a second there, hotshot. I worked it out. I don't know when she worked it out. Maybe when she was passed out, she had a, Maybe when she's passed out, she had an enlightenment or whatever. So, I'm just gonna read this out because it's kind of complicated. I'm just gonna read it exactly. She tells him that she thinks they won't actually attack this village. She explains to Luthen that she thinks that the man didn't actually want to kill them, only use them to spread false information, like the map claiming this village would next be attacked. So she then references the note she saw the man writing, how Phase 2 could mean a shift in their plan, not the destruction he described. So it's probably a different plan, not the one he described to them. That one was probably fake. So Luthen is like, well, that letter could be another distraction. But Elmara points out they don't know she can speak Canton-Noir. They don't know that. They didn't know that she could read that. So while he's talking about this, she's like, this is probably happening all the time, which is why nobody can find them. Nobody nobody can see where these bandits are. They just attack and then they leave. So they probably have a whole web of just false information going around. So Luthen's like, okay, I can see your logic. I agree with you. We can stay. So later that night, Elmara is asleep. She is just kind of resting, and Luthen just kind of gets up. He gets out. He needs some fresh air. And just walks around the town. You know, he's just thinking about a lot of stuff, thinking about what just happened. He's walking around and he finds a bench to like kind of look over the wall. He looks out on the open plain. Look out, Simba. But and then randomly he's approached by Dr. Palm. Palm sits down and he asks Luthen to talk about why he's there. But Luthen says nothing for fear of giving himself away to the enemy, which they have been doing this whole time. And Palm tells him he knows he's not a normal traveler. As he can tell a Cantonwa blade when he sees one. Because Dr. Palm, a little bit of lore for you. Dr. Palm used to be a medic in the Royal Army. So he's used to Cantonwa sword wounds. And so he knows, he's like, this is interesting. Because they kind of have a different style of sword than the knights usually use. But a little bit of lore drop on Danny there. So Palm tells him that, you know, he's like, dude, this doesn't just happen to normal people. So something's going on here. And then he also tells him, he's like, bro, okay, I can tell. You're a loner. You're a really solitary person. And he can see that Luthen is contemplating leaving Elmara and continuing on his own because of how immobile she is now. So he's like, he is. Palm read that perfectly. So Luthen, he just says nothing. And then Dr. Palm tells him that he thinks Luthen needs to get to know her, because no matter how much her injury holds her back, it's always good to, you know, have a friend. This is a deep conversation. So Palm says that in this world, you can't do it all on your own. You need somebody to have your back when times are tough. Luthen still says nothing, and Palm decides to leave. He gives him some space. So here's what Palm says. He says, okay, look. I don't want you to leave. I don't think you should leave this guy. I don't know what's going on. I don't know what kind of quest you're on, but I can tell you want to leave her here. But if you do, I'll make sure she's okay. I'll make sure she heals. I'll make sure that she has a house, a place to stay by the time you come back. And Luthen's, you know, he's really appreciative of this, and he lets Palm leaves, and Luthen just sits there for a long time, and he's thinking, okay, I can either do this on my own, or I can keep her with me and stay with her, let her heal, and then we can go. So, I'm only just realizing this now. This is a perfect analogy for friendship in real life. Because, look at this. Click the wrong thing. Look at this. He can either, one, do it all by himself, which is going to be lonely. He might be able to do it a little bit more efficiently. It's going to be lonely. He's going to be by himself the whole time. Or he can do it with a friend who is going to make it better. Might not add a ton to the operation, but, you know, could be crucial in the end. You never know. Possibly crucial in the end. So, he decides, okay, you're right, Palm. I'm going to stay. He's staying. Yeah, Angel, Elmara is not really his friend yet. You know, they're kind of getting to know each other a bit more. This is something that brings them together a lot. But Palm says, get to know her, make her your friend. Not, I can tell you guys are friends. He can see that they're not exactly friends yet, but he knows that they should be. So anyway, he goes back to the house, and then he's just kind of standing there, and he's thinking, all right, do I go or do I stay? This is it. This is when I got to figure it out. And he just stands in front of the door, and he's thinking, she's in there. I'm going to stay. Boom. Good job, Luthen. So he stays, and obviously Dr. Palm is very grateful for this, and he's thinking, you did the right thing, kid. You did the right thing. So the next day is very uneventful. He explains their financial situation to Dr. Palm because, all their money got taken from him. And he's like, you know what? You can just stay here. You don't have to pay me for anything. And then he's like, oh, dude, that's awesome, bro. Dr. Palm. So as a thank you gesture, Luthen, helps him out around the house. He, maybe does some cleaning. He maybe does some errands, whatever. So, and then in the afternoon after she wakes up, Luthen, talks to Elmara for a bit. She's obviously apologetic, just kind of holding him back. But he tells her that some things are more important than the bandits. What a line. Besides, he's sure that they won't hurt Cherry Lynn since they need Luthen to come back, because if their plan is to spread more information, if they kill his sister, he's not going to come back. So he then talks to Dr. Palm. He's like, bro, we got no money, we got no food, we got no stuff, and we need a horse because she can't walk. So Dr. Palm's like, all right, bro, I'm giving you my house, but I don't have enough money to buy you a horse. But somebody in the town might, have a job he can do. He can work for some money, or maybe in exchange for an old horse. So the next day he goes around, he talks to a bunch of people in the village. He's going around, he's saying, bro, I'm strong. I can do stuff. Can I work for you for some money? And everybody's like, oh no, I don't think so. We don't have anything you can do. So yeah, he's asking basically everybody. Nobody has any jobs for him. So, however, right when he was about to quit and be like, this sucks, I can't get a job, in a small tavern on the edge of town, a man approaches him and introduces himself as Babu Linton and discreetly asks if Luthen can fight. And he, kind of motions to the sword Luthen carries with him. Luthen says yes, and Linton says he has a job for him if he can prove himself. So Luthen asks how well he's be paid, and Linton says how well he'll be paid, and Linton says very handsomely. So Luthen has no choice to agree. He's like, okay, I'll do it. This guy's shady. I don't know what's going on, but I'm a good warrior. I can defend myself. Let's see what this guy has to talk about. So he goes back to the house. He talks to Dr. Palm because Elmara's, constantly resting.
Nonsense in the world already.
I really gotta buy YouTube Premium, bro.
Verizon's new simplicity plan.
Okay, so, and Dr. Palm's like, I mean, if you think you're good enough to defend yourself, go for it. So, and Palm says, I've never met this guy. I've lived in this town for a while. I've never met anybody named Babu Linton, so he could be an outsider, or could be using a fake name. Who knows? So he says that the whole thing sounds pretty shady, but if Luthen is confident he can defend himself, he should do it. So Luthen agrees, says he has no idea what he'll be doing or when he'll be back. And Palm says Elmara will be taken care of. Two names. Babu, space, Linton. B-A-B-U, Linton. So the next morning, Linton leads him to some woods about, half an hour from the village. And Luthen is met with another man. He looks slightly older than him. So the man introduces himself. And Luthen says his name, I love this, is Jozar Bozatoli, which is an anagram for Joe Bartolozzi. So he introduces himself as Jozar Bozatoli, a weapons maker from Greenvale. So Linton tells the men, okay, now you got to spar. He gives them maybe some wooden swords or whatever, so let's fight each other. And Luthen's like, oh, okay. And so Luthen goes, he beats the guy pretty easily. So Linton's like, okay, bro, you're done. Get out of here. And says, Luthen, you're a good warrior here, and I have a task for you. So he tells Luthen, this is going to be bigger in the book, but there's just really not too much I can say here that will make it sound interesting. So he tells Luthen that his job is to travel to the city of Gate of the Realm, which is a tough name. It's a large city in southwestern Rosevale, about a 2-day ride from where they are. It's called Gate of the Realm because it is right on the border of Rimsengale, and it's called Gate of the Realm for a lot of places, for a lot of reasons. People just call it Gate. So Gate is right on the border of Rimsengale and Thornvale, and it is also known for its arts. There's a lot of affinity with the arts there, and in Rosevale as a whole. Rosevale, the government has really just, for the past, for a long time, they've really been saying, okay, we want to focus on the arts here. We want to have a library. They have a huge library, stuff like that. So anyway, and Gate of the Realm is the start of this very famous, very well-traveled trading route called the Scholar's Route, and that's what Luthen takes. But anyway, so he goes to Gate of the Realm, picks up a package, and delivers it to a village called Anoriath in the Greenvale Steppes, which is in southern Greenvale. It's about a 3-day ride from Gate of the Realm, following the popular trade route called Scholar's Route. The reason why a good warrior is needed for this, because that particular area of Greenvale is pretty dangerous, since bandits have taken over the only entrance to the steppes. So it's really like a funnel there, where the bandits just camp out, they wait for unsuspecting travelers, and then they, jump them. So Luthen says, okay, I understand. Says, okay, I understand. And then he carries out the mission, using a horse given to him by Babu Linton. So he gets the package from a sketchy inn in Gate, and he has to fight some highway bandits on the way to Anoriath. So, like he feared, he was kind of jumped by these bandits, but they were kind of sucky, and he beat them up pretty easily. So he's really close to Anoriath, which is about a 5-day ride, so this skips a good amount of time. And then he brings one of the bandits to the chief of Anoriath and says, okay, look, these guys just attacked me right outside your village. You should probably do something about it. But the chief is like, oh yeah, he doesn't really care. And so randomly, he's just like, I've never seen you before. Come eat dinner with me. What? He's like, yeah, we're not used to outsiders. Come eat dinner with me. Excuse me? So Luthen's like, okay, well, he has this job to do where he's to deliver this package to somebody in Anoriath, and he's like, okay, fine, I'll have some dinner with this guy, and then I'll find whoever it is I have to deliver this package to. So he brings one of the bandits to the chief of Anoriath to put him in prison, but the chief doesn't really seem to care and insists on inviting Luthen to dinner. So Luthen just decides to go, but only because of how insistent the chief is. It's kind of weird. He's really like, come to dinner with me. But anyway, after a normal kind of dinner, the chief starts acting weird, and he tells Luthen the code phrase that lets Luthen know the chief is the target for the delivery. And the code phrase is it warmer at sunrise or sunset? Or maybe is it colder at sunrise or sunset? So, he tells him the phrase, so Luthen's like, wait a second. I'm giving it to this guy. What's going on here? So the chief is like, acting really strange, and then eventually he just starts babbling about recruiting Luthen. Recruiting? Recruiting for what? I'm doing this mission, and then I'm going home. And Luthen says, no, you're not going to recruit me for anything. But the chief tells him, you don't really have a choice. You're here in my village, in my house. You don't really have a choice of what's going on here. This is like a fever dream here. So then everybody turns on him. Luthen has to fight his way out of the village. Basically, the whole population of the village starts just attacking him. And he ends up killing the chief. And a couple people follow him out of the village. So Luthen has to kill them too. It's crazy. He takes the fastest road he can find back to Klindora Hills. And he's like, he goes to Dr. Palm's house, to Elmara. He's like, bro. And by the way, at this point, it's been over a week since he left them. So there's a lot of time skipped here. And he's like, bro, something crazy just happened. We gotta go. There's probably people on my tail right now. Because remember, Babu Linton, who started this whole thing. Oh no, you guys are gonna hate me. Okay. Babu Linton, who started this whole thing, actually is working with these guys. So he's saying Babu Linton knows where I am. He knows where Dr. Palm and Elmara are. So, oh, Angel gets it. Angel gets it. Angel gets it. So He's like, bro, we are in danger here, and they have to leave. So he stole this horse from Babu Linton too. So they have a horse now because he stole it while he was doing the mission. So he goes, and Elmora like already has all of her stuff ready, and she's slightly mobile at this point. She can like limp around and stuff. You know, she's walking like that. You know, she maybe has like a crutch or something. So Luthen, you know, helps her get onto the horse, and they leave. And so they're going down the road. Oh no. They're going down the road. They thank Dr. Palm for everything he's done for him. And then wrong button again. Luthen, they're riding down the road. And you know, Dr. Palm is standing at the entrance of the village. He's just kind of waving back at him. He's saying, go get him. Go get him. And then, wouldn't you know, Elmara turns to wave back, and then she screams, and Dr. Palm is tackled by the man that Luthen was sparring in the forest, which is already weird. So Luthen turns the horse around. He charges back to the village. Elmara's like trying to draw her bow, but it's too late. I don't know why I'm smiling. This is one of the darkest moments of the whole book. I don't know why I'm smiling. I won't describe it, but yeah, he's dead. Dr. Palm is dead as a doornail. For real this time. He is done. So, the man was about to run back into the village, but a few armed guards start chasing him away from inside the village. However, Babu Linton is standing at the entrance, shooting arrows at the guards chasing the man. And then at this point, Luthen has caught up to them. He throws a knife at him from his horse, but he misses. And then he ends up ducking out of the way to give Elmara a clean shot, and she, boom, hits the man right in the back. So that guy's dead. A reminder, Elmara's good at hunting. So she can use the bow. She just, you know, high-pressure situations aren't the best. But she, sticks this guy. And then Babu Linton is still there. Babu Linton's still there, you know, firing off shots at these guys. Maybe he sends one over Luthen's way. And Luthen's like, okay, I've had enough of this dude. He takes Elmara's bow from her and then just lets one loose and, bro, gets him. Oh, dude, Babu Linton is out like a light. So anyway, that happens. They hop back on the horse down the road, and they're gone. I'm going to give us a second. You know what? It's a cruel world we live in. Not every book can be sunshine and rainbows. Sometimes there's got to be the Dr. Palms. Alright, anyway. Where were we? So, and Luthen just, he hops back on his horse. They go away. They don't really kind of pay attention to where they're going. They just kind of go. He just picks a path, follows it for like an hour before they stop, and they're like, what just happened? You know, they're sitting down. They're just kind of shell-shocked. And they're like, Luthen's like, why'd they do it? What is that? What happened? Who are these people? Why did they kill him? And Elmara says that they're scared of Luthen. Elmara says that they're scared of Luthen, but they wanted to get back at him because Luthen killed a bunch of their people. But they wanted to get back at him, so they hit him in a in a good place, in a hard place. So, they ask, Luthen's like, so who are those people? And Amara says she thinks they're part of the Lepuran, a high-class smuggling group that operates out of the south, mostly the Greenvale Steppes and Goldvale. They operate out of the Greenvale Steppes because of how kind of lawless it is there, while there's really no government, as you can see. Not government, but there's really no regulation there because of how hard it is to get to and how easy it is to be, kind of inconspicuous there. And then Goldvale, because it's really high profile place. A lot of goods going around there. And so, okay, what do we plan to do now? Okay, what do we do now? So Luthen says, they just got to do the same thing they've been doing. Track down the bandits, and then find how to get them while they are, when they track them down. So they're just kind of going around, and they find, it's a reminder, they don't really know where they are. So they find a village nearby. They go in there, and they find out where to go. So after that, they find a town around sunset, and they go in, and they meet a man named Faradith, who, fun fact, when I was writing this, I needed a name. I was watching Lord of the Rings when I was writing it, and Faramir came up on the screen, so I named him Faradith. Faradith goes in, Luthen's kind of asking around, and he's like, hold on a second, I know a thing or two about these bandits. And then Luthen agrees to meet with Faradith outside the village after he shows Luthen proof that Faradith is actually a royal knight. He's a knight of the capital. So Luthen's like, okay, this guy knows what he's talking about. But before they leave the tavern, Luthen accidentally, he starts a whole bar fight. Because a guy tries to approach Elmara, like some drunk dude. He comes up to her while she's just sitting down, kind of defenseless because she can't really stand up that well. And so Luthen goes over there. He just shoves him, and then they start a whole brawl. So they have to leave that place pretty quick, and they go to Faradith's camp outside of the village. And they talk about how Faradith was actually sent by the capital to that place to gather information about the comings and goings of this town, since people have claimed to see Cantamar activity there. So Luthen and Elmara explain their journey to him. They decide to trust him because of his royal-like status. He understands and is very surprised to learn that Luthen was heir chieftain, meaning he was going to inherit the title of chief, because that actually makes him slightly higher class than Faradith himself. So Faradith then, he gives them some money. He, lets them sleep in his camp for that night, and then he gives them some directions about the bandits' latest whereabouts in the morning. So after that, Luthen and Elmara make their way back into the village. Not back. They make their way into the village of Chamil, which is about halfway to the town that Faradith directed them to. Guys, we're getting pretty close here. We're getting pretty close. I'll go back here. We're getting pretty close here. So they go back to the town of Chamil. It's this tiny village. It's even smaller than Horston. And wouldn't you know it, they're attacked again. These bandits come out of nowhere. They go and then they hit this village. What are the chances, by the way, that they hit this village at the same time Luthen's there? So he's getting everybody to hide. He grabs all the guys from the village, and they actually fend off the attack pretty easily because it's a pretty weak attack. Luthen can basically single-handedly do the whole thing since they have the he had the high ground, he had the numbers advantage, all that. So, but actually, he captures one of the bandits. He says, "This is big." He captures one of them. He tells Elmara, he's like, "Okay, can you translate a threat towards this guy for me? Tell him that if he doesn't do what I say, he will he'll have a slow and painful death or something like that." So Luthen then has the men lead him to their camp, which is the fourth time in this book that Luthen has tried to kind of scout out the enemy camp. Maybe he'll got to figure out that something's not working here. But anyway, he goes in there. He's waiting with the dude, the guy that captured, and he kind of scouts it out, and he makes a plan. He decides, I'm going to use this guy as a distraction, and then I'm going to run into this camp while they're all distracted. He's going to make it to the hostages. He's going to start untying the hostages, get his sister out of there. This might work. Okay. Reminder, Elmara's not with him because she is crippled as of late. So he tells the guy, he goes, "Go in there." He's going to have to use hand signals, but he goes, you know? Go in there, start making a ton of noise, get everybody's attention on you, and then I'm sprinting in there. I'm taking my sister. We're getting out of here. So the guy does it, and then Luthen just bolts across this clearing that the guys have camped in. He is going just okay, and he maybe has to like, maybe he has to like you know, kill a guy or two. He has to, you know, get there, but he gets to the hostages pretty quickly. He goes in, and this is one of the most intense moments of the whole thing. He goes in. He starts trying to untie the knots. He's trying to get her out of there as quickly as they can. Everybody's screaming around him, and then she's like, "Look out!" He ducks, gets out of the way, like right as an arrow is like whizzing past his head. Doesn't hit anybody, and then he's just overrun. He has to fend them off, like just fighting for his life, and he has to abandon the mission. Use the sword and cut the ropes. You know what? That's actually not a bad. It's chains. No, it's chains, not ropes. It's chains. So he has to figure out how to get the chains. Never mind. Thank you for pointing that out. Actually, chains. It's chains. So anyway, so he has to go. He leaves. He goes back to the village, and then once he gets back to the village, he sees the search party coming towards him, and so he grabs Lamara. They hop back on the horse, and he goes, and he tells this guy in the village. The guy's like, "They're coming back. Why are you leaving?" And Luthen's like, "Here's what you do, okay? Tell them that I went to this town, which is right next to this village. Tell them I went to this town, that I'm getting reinforcements, and then I'm going to come back to their camp, and I'm going to destroy them." You know, Luthen wants to make it seem like, makes it want to seem like, that the guy is kind of ratting him out. But so the guy, and then Luthen and Elmara, they leave. They find this kind of hidden place, and then they wait till morning. They do not go getting reinforcements because he knows, A, they're gonna move. If they think I'm getting reinforcements, they're gonna move, and then B, we can't deal with these guys with some random dudes from the next town over, you know. So they think, so the bandits now think he's coming with an army, but in reality, he's not actually coming with anything. He just wants to make them move because he knows they're in a really good strategic spot, defensive spot right now. But if he makes them move, and they have to find somewhere quick because they don't want to move during the day, if he makes them move, they're going to find a worse spot, and then he can maybe, you know, get in there. So, anyway. They wait. It's the next day. And they go back, and they follow. And oh gosh. I'm not going to talk about this part. They go to where the camp is, make sure it's actually abandoned and that they actually left. So yeah, camp's gone. They all left. And they find basically a note that says, we're going to kill your sister in 3 days. That's what the note says. Which is like, oh, okay, this just got real. It says sunrise on the third day. Remember that. Sunrise on the third day. So, let me drink some water. So he's like, crap. Okay, we gotta up our game here. And they find some disturbing things in this camp, which I will not, read aloud right now. You can read the screen if you want. It's on there. I think. Yeah, it's on there. But anyway, so, and then real quick, I'm going to explain to you guys something. There's this thing called the TMS. It is the Thornvale messaging system. So, how this works is, they have two main types of, like, mail and stuff like that. Okay, Angel read it. Mail and stuff like that. So they have one. The what? Oh, the man in the vial? Yeah. But anyway, that's actually not, that's something later. That's something later. It's not bad. It's not that bad. I just don't feel like describing it right now. But anyway, they, the Thornvale messaging system is, there's two ways that they get mail. One of them is a bulk thing where, like, you know, they got this dude in a wagon carrying all the mail. Or if they want to do a direct, quicker message, which is a lot more expensive, they use the TMS, the Thornvale messaging system, which is this really interconnected web of couriers who take messages, and then based on the severity or, you know, like urgency of the message, they have different ways of telling that to people. So it depends on the color robe that they wear while they take out the message, and then also a flag that they hold up. So the color robe, I think there's really only two. There's a purple robe and a white robe. So purple is royal, which means this is going from one kind of important person to another. And then you have one kind of government person to another government person. And then you have the white robe, which is just normal people. But the flag is what the main thing is. So you have a white flag, a green flag, an orange flag, and a red flag. Red flag is the most urgent. Like, this is, you gotta haul to, obviously it's the most expensive because the courier's doing a lot of work here. But they have to get there as fast as they possibly can to deliver this message. Oh, it doesn't happen often. Orange is a step below that. Green is, you know, a casual message that maybe has a little bit of time frame to it. And then white is just casual. They can take their time. Doesn't really matter. So anyway, now that we have that explained. So they are on the trail of these bandits. And they see a TMS courier coming towards them. And as per custom, they kind of move off the road because this guy probably has some important stuff to do. They move off the road. He's coming past them, but then Luthen sees him and he's like, this is different. This doesn't look right. So Luthen stops him, and after a couple questions, he shows, oh, by the way, all chiefs and air chieftains have tattoos on their arms that show their position. So he shows his tattoo, and he's like, I have authority to read your message right now, which, by the way, is not true. He does not have the authority to read this message. Any good courier knows that. Any person who's actually a TMS courier knows he cannot read this message under any circumstance. But the guy, he's like, okay, here it is. So they're thinking, okay, something's not right here. So Luthen, he looks into it, and it's actually all completely normal. This is just random documents, random messages from one baron to another. And he's thinking, okay, this is weird, but this all looks totally normal. So then the guy, he's getting even more nervous. He's like, oh, okay, you done yet? You know, I gotta go. And Luthen's like, yeah, wait, one second. So, and then the guy, just out of nowhere, shoves Luthen off the horse. Shoves him off the horse and bolts out of there. And Luthen's like, uh-oh, something's going on here. So he has Elmara hop off the horse real quick. And she's like, yeah, I'll be fine. He has her hop off the horse. And then Luthen just snaps into gear, whizzes off down the road. And then he's thinking, I gotta see what this guy's up to. So he shoots. He takes out his bow. He shoots the horse. And he's like, I can't kill this guy. You're all good, Navy. I'm not gonna get back on. He's like, I gotta kill this guy. I'm not gonna kill this guy because I gotta figure out what he's doing here. But I gotta stop him, so I'm gonna shoot his horse. He shoots the horse. Horse goes down. And he's kind of far away, you know, an arrow's shot away. So Luthen's going over there. He sees, okay, this guy's down. That's fine. I don't have to keep shooting. And he goes over. But as he gets there, the man has drank a vial of poison. Killed himself. What? He did what now? Okay. So Luthen's like, something crazy is going on here. It's like something wild is going on here. Of course he's annoyed. Yeah, he's definitely fuming about that one. So he searches him. He searches his stuff. He grabs a knife out of his bag. He grabs a Canton Noir knife to kind of prove he's like, okay, this guy's a bandit because he has the knife. He couldn't have the sword because it wouldn't have been hidden, but he has the knife. And then he searches in this pocket. Tiny little note written in Canton Noir. Boom, got him. Got him. Boom. So Luthen takes it back to Elmara, where she's just sitting on the side of the road. And he's like, can you read this? She reads it. And basically, I have the message kind of planned out, but it's really boring. So basically, through this message, they realize something's going down near the capital in about a week. Or whatever time it is. Probably about a week. Something's going down near the capital with these bandits. They're all converging onto this one point near the capital very soon. So, they think this could be some sort of attack on the capital of Thornvale. Dun dun. They're not going to get bombed. That's a good guess, but they're not going to get bombed. So, now, they have another argument about what to do. Elmara says, they kind of switch the roles here. Elmara says, look, we've gotten this far by playing for ourselves, by being selfish, by only focusing on what we want. But this is crazy if it's actually real. So we need to go tell somebody about this. And Luthen's like, but remember, 3 days. We only have 3 days to find her. And Elmara's like, at this point, we're just going to have to hope they were bluffing. Which is a good chance they were bluffing, just to keep Luthen on their trail. There's a good chance they're bluffing, but he's thinking the note. Like, what do we do with the note? They're going to kill her in 3 days. And then she's like, I'm sorry. We got to go tell people about this. So, they make for the city of Skylift in Goldvale. They make for the city of Skylift to hopefully get word to an official with an army that can help protect the capital from this attack. And ladies and gentlemen, that's the end of Act 2. Act 3, baby, Act 3. Here we go. We're close. We're so close. Literally only like a page and a half left. So, I'm just going to read this out. Luthen and Elmara travel to Skylift as fast as they can and talk to the armed soldier at the gate, saying they have urgent news for the Duke. The soldier doesn't really take them serious, but, he takes them to the supervisor when they show him the papers that they discovered, as well as the clearly foreign knife that Luthen took from the man's body. So, the supervisor doesn't really know what to make of it, so he tells them to wait. He's going to go talk to some people, kind of Pawn Stars style. He's like, let me call up my guy for this. So, supervisor comes back around 30 minutes later and, tells them to follow him. So, they follow him to the main tower, and after, discarding all their weapons, they're led into a small office. So, they wait in this office for a bit, for a while, and then a big old dude comes in. He introduces himself as the steward of the castle, which basically means he takes care of a lot of clerical stuff around the castle. And this castle does have a standing army, by the way. So he asks a lot of questions. It's not the capital of Goldvale Barony, but it is the second largest city after the capital. So he asks kind of a lot of questions. He's like, who are you? What are you doing? Where are you going? And Luthen and Elmara, they don't really answer him truthfully, because if you think about it, they are fugitives. Because Luthen left his post. Elmara is kind of harboring a fugitive there. So they're like, we can't really tell this guy where we're from because we are technically breaking the law by leaving our place. So anyway, so the steward says he's really skeptical because they've been told that the Canton Noir really love to spread false information. It seems to be genuine, but it looks really legitimate, but it can be false. But the articles that they give him, they look real. Like, this looks like something that was actually discovered. So he also says that the date directly corresponds with something called the King's Festival, which is the only 2 days of the entire year where the royal army isn't fully ready for battle. So they're always just kind of standing army, just in case, something happens that they're needed to go out for. But these 2 days are the only days where they're not 100% ready. So, and then also, there's going to be a lot of people that come to the capital for the King's Festival, because it's the biggest festival in the capital of the year. So there's going to be people coming from all ways around. So, if for some reason they are in this capital, they're going to go through the capital's food like that. Okay, that's bad. They're going to go through their supplies like that with all these extra people. So, here we go. So Luthen just continues insisting, and then Elmara ends up giving a long list of the reasons about how they know what the Canton Noir are doing. So the steward, he's really kind of concerned, but he tells them that he knows they're lying about something. He doesn't know what they're lying about, but it's not all clicking yet. So, they kind of glance at each other and they're like, okay, we got to do this. So they tell them exactly what's happening. So the steward is really surprised about who they actually are, but he tells them that, it does make their story make a lot more sense. So, he's sitting there, he's thinking about it for a while longer, and then he decides, okay, let me excuse myself from this room. I got some stuff to do. So a little while later, he comes back into the room and tells them, okay, he says, okay, follow me. Luthen and Elmara are then put in front of the Duke of the castle. So this is the person who's in charge of the whole city. So they explain everything that they told to the steward and the supervisor and the guard before him for the 4th time. Except the Duke is like, wait a second. He seemed a lot more interested in Luthen and his situation about how he left his post as heir chieftain than the bandits. So at the end of the conversation, the Duke is like, okay, I'll talk about this with my guys. But for now, we're putting you in jail because we're putting you in jail for disloyalty to the crown because you left your position of heir chieftain, which you were, by blood right, you needed to do. So that's Luthen's punishment, and then harboring a fugitive, which is Elmara's punishment, which is kind of a stretch. She's not harboring him, but it's whatever. So they sit in the jail at the top of the highest tower. I got you, Diego. Yeah. So they go to the top of the highest tower in all of Skylift, which, by the way, the reason why this city is called Skylift is because it is actually the tallest city in Thornvale. The tower that Luthen and Elmara are put in is the tallest tower from ground to height. And from the floor to the ceiling, the highest tower in the entire kingdom. So they are in the highest room of the highest tower of the entire kingdom. So just a little lore for you there. But so let's read this out here. So he stays up the entire night. He is really just distraught, and he's saying, okay, this is bad. And Elmara's like, wait, why are you so worried? And he says, sunrise on the 3rd day. And that's the sunrise on the 3rd day. I'll just let it sit for a second. No, I'm not saying she's dead. I'm just saying she could be dead. And right now, Luthen thinks she's dead. We'll see later. Don't worry. So, where are we at now? So then soon after, they see a TMS courier leaving the castle, and he shows a purple robe and an orange flag. So that means it's a royal thing, presumably from the Duke, and it's an orange flag, meaning it's second most urgency. So, and then that one is heading west, away from the capital. However, that is in the direction of Oakvale, west. And then they see another one heading north towards the capital. So there's one going towards the capital. There's one going towards where Luthens and Elmara originally came from. So after that, the Duke actually comes in and he says they've decided against bringing aid to the capital because they believe that it is a ruse that the bandits are using to leave them defenseless. So what the Duke thinks is that Skylift is actually the city that's going to be attacked, and they want to draw their army out, which, you know, is a valid concern, but whatever. He says he did send a message to the king just in case that they are actually telling the truth. So, however, he does believe the two of them to be working with the Canton Noir bandits, but he has no evidence to show it, so he sent a message to Lord Clark of Oakvale, and just now they wait to see what Lord Clark does. Does he want them back? Does he say they're free to go? So now they're locked up here for, they think, you know, like a week. And they're like, uh-oh, this is bad. Because, one, Cherry Lynn's still out there with the bandits. Two, they, like, the capital is actually going to get just destroyed. And they have no idea what's going to hit them. So they're like, this is bad. So then, a while later, the steward of the castle comes in and he lets them out. He unlocks the door. He says, look, I believe the Duke is making the wrong decision. You need to go warn the king because we're not going to do it for you. He tells them that the message the Duke sent to the capital was actually a fake message that was sent out to, because he thinks, you know, his philosophy, his thoughts were, I'm going to send out a fake message so that Luthen and Elmara aren't tempted to try to break out. So, however, this is big, okay? However, he did replace the message that the Duke sent to Oakvale. You know, the Duke sent a message to Oakvale saying, we got your guys, but actually, he replaced the message with the warning about the capital, telling them to bring their troops to the capital as quickly as possible. So remember that, okay? So, now, Luthen and Elmara just thank him for everything, and he gives them both something to do. He tells Elmara to stay and help him rally the troops in the surrounding area. So just a reminder, she's still hurt, so she can't really travel very fast. And for Luthen to make for the capital as fast as he can. They have a bit of a melancholic goodbye and tell each other they'll see them soon. That's gonna be emotional. So, Luthen hops on the horse that the steward provides him, and he makes for the capital. And then a little bit more lore for you. Actually, you know what? I can pull it up. I can pull it up in Discord. I can pull up the map here. So, real quick. This is... okay, it's sideways, but this is the route that Luthen and Elmara take. So they start in Oakvale here, at the top. They go down. Here. This right here is... this right here is Glendora Hills. This is Gate of the Realm. This is Honoriath. So this is what Luthen's path was. So he went from here, down here, here, and then back up here. And then they all went here. This is where they met Faradith. This is where they got the TMS courier. This is where they were in jail. And then this is Luthen's path straight to the capital. But anyway. Here we go. So they make they from Skylift to Ravenstone Castle, which is the capital of Goldvale. Then takes the popular trade route, Ravenstone Cross, straight to the capital. There's a lot of lore there. And ladies and gentlemen, for my viewers who are watching this on YouTube, this is where the journey ends for you. However, for my loyal viewers on stream, of course I'm not going to stop it here. Come on. So, let me grab my other notebook. Everybody who watched this on the video, come through to the stream because that's when you'll get the ending of this book. Okay, let me go get my notebook.